I'd like to welcome you all out to our press conference. My name is Mayor Michelle Kafusi, and it's a real honor and privilege to be with you all this morning. Before I get started, I just wanted to recognize two of my wonderful council members. My city council is the best city council around. They always support me. So I have Council Chair George Hanley with me. Thank you, George. And Council Member Shannon Ellsworth. Thank you, Shannon. And also, I just wanted to take a quick moment before I get into the details of what's happening in Provo and give a shout out to the citizens of Provo. We wouldn't be to this phase we are today and having this conversation if it wasn't for the amazing citizens of Provo. We honestly have the best people on the planet. They've been so helpful and so good at self-regulating and taking our COVID-19 plan guidelines serious and doing the best they can. And it's made a huge difference for Utah County and for specifically our city. So I wanted to say thank you. All right, let's get started. I'd like to talk about traffic signs at first. They provide direction, signify danger, and help us navigate unfamiliar territory and enable us to safely interact with others. But to be truly effective, they require some level of compliance from the public. While we have a choice, we know that not following them can have negative consequences, including possibly hurting ourselves or others. We all understand our collective ability to safely arrive at our destination requires us to work together. Likewise, our success of conquering COVID-19 requires the same level of public cooperation. We all have the same destination, which is getting back to normal as soon as possible. The guidance we have been given from the state and health experts is designed to first provide direction for new safety habits, signify the danger in not following those directives, help us navigate the unfamiliar territory of this new virus, and enable us to safely interact with others, but we must comply. The statewide risk level has now been reduced. Last Wednesday, Governor Herbert announced the state's COVID-19 risk level was being lowered from red, which means high risk, to orange, which means moderate risk. Here's our traffic signal to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. Taking our lead from the state's recovery plan, Utah Leads Together, Provo City has developed a safety-centric operational plan to gradually loosen restrictions with the timeline driven by COVID-19, case data, recommendations from the state and local health departments. Proceed with caution. COVID-19 Road to Recovery. The phrase proceed with caution is what we have chosen to take as our next steps because it captures the balance taken as Provo begins cautiously opening our economy, forward momentum, but with the knowledge that risks still exist. The success of this plan depends on all of us taking our responsibility seriously as individuals, as a city, and as a community. Our responsibility as individuals is to, first, protect the safety of ourselves and our family by following the safety guidelines we've been given. I want to point out this sign that our city has come up with that indicates all different kinds of fun, safety, street signs, but with the message of COVID-19. And you'll see these all throughout our city now. So they will recommend you, and you'll be able to read them, get tested if you have any COVID-19 symptoms, continue social distancing, practice good hygiene, wear face masks when needed, limit group gatherings to 20, protect our high-risk and vulnerable populations. Our responsibility as a city is to protect citizens in our facilities and safely deliver services. And this was handed out to everyone. This is our Proceed with Caution COVID-19 Plan. Proceed with Caution, Comprehensive Guide of Safety Protocols for the Transition to the Orange Risk Level. This plan is available to read or download on our informational website at covid19.provo.org. Also, we have a business version, which is also available. A few highlights of the plan include parks and recreation facilities will open tomorrow morning at their regular scheduled times, but with restrictions. This includes the Recreation Center, Peaks Ice Arena, Cubby Center for the Arts, and our Provo Shooting Sports Park. All other amenities have already been open. The Provo Library is not physically open, but has launched a highly successful curbside delivery program. And the Senior Center will not open, and senior programming will not resume until we are in the yellow low risk. Again, referencing the Utah Leads Together risk levels. All city customer service desks will be open tomorrow, but with the strict safety protocols in place for both employees and citizens. Lastly, our responsibility as a community is simply to work together to conquer COVID-19. So as a sign of our unified community commitment, I'm introducing a voluntary pledge program. And this is what it will look like. This vinyl cling can be displayed on business doors to show their dedication to following the state's protocols, and on home or car windows to show that our individual commitment to follow personal safety guidelines. It is important to note that we will regularly monitor public compliance COVID-19 case data and health expert advice to determine if we need to tighten restrictions again. And I remind everyone, all my directors and staff, it was really easy to close things down. It's going to be a little trickier to open things up. And at the drop of a hat, if we need to pull back, we will pull back. Provo has always been a community that comes together during times of need, and I know we will all rise to the occasion now. Thank you to all for your continued efforts to help keep Provo safe. I believe that if we all follow the guidelines outlined from the state and on Provo's COVID-19 website, we will be able to enjoy the things that make Provo great while remaining safety and healthy. With that, I will turn the microphone over to Commissioner Nathan Ivey.
First off, Mayor, thank you so much for your remarks, for your fearless leadership, and for your commitment to the well-being of the citizens of this city in particular, but also the county. Obviously, one of the things as a county commissioner I am concerned about is all of Utah County, and all of Utah County funnels through Provo quite often as we interact with one another. And so I'm appreciative of Mayor Kafusi and her leadership on this particular issue. As I've thought about my remarks today, there's one thing that's kept coming to mind, and that was some predictions of Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson predicted that the American people would be able to continue and sustain happiness and success if the labors that they produced were not wasted by the government under the pretense of safety. I believe at the heart of this message from Thomas Jefferson is something that we need to emphasize again and again during this crisis that we find ourselves in: individual responsibility. It's imperative that each of us as citizens of this county and of the state of Utah act responsibly. This is the greatest way that we can protect freedom and make sure that the steps we're taking today are only the first steps in many to come that get us back to fully operating in our society. As we've dealt with this from an internal standard, as your commissioners and as elected officials, we've tried very hard in Utah County to find that right balance of protecting public health and honoring individual liberties, because both are essential to a healthy and thriving society. People are very, very dependent upon their capacities for employment, to feed their children, to make their house payments, and to provide the necessities of life in the healthcare system so that they can live and thrive and be industrious and produce and create. So it's essential that we give people those opportunities. But in doing so, it's also important that we don't use those opportunities in a manner that causes significant public health and damage and loss of life. And so we're working very hard to take the appropriate steps to make sure that we continue to strike that right balance. I believe the advice that you've heard from Mayor Kaufusi today to proceed with caution is appropriate, and it is that perfect balance of giving people the opportunities to be Americans, to be out and be free and productive and engaged in society, to sit down at a restaurant 6 feet away from the next table and enjoy those dining opportunities, to get back to work. But getting back to work means that we can telecommute still. We can still have those wonderful Zoom meetings that we've been participating in and find ways to continue to move forward in a productive society that gets our economy rolling again so that we're taking care of everyone, but we can do so responsibly. And I'm so appreciative of the mayor and her example and the other elected officials I get to work with and their example of being individually responsible. It's been very hard for me for the last 2 months to sit at my desk at home and look at a computer screen to have meetings, but I know that that's been the responsible thing to do. At the conclusion of this press conference, I'm excited to be back in my office today so that I can actually see my senior policy advisor face to face and have that conversation. And we're going to be careful about it. And we're going to continue to move forward and slowly have some more public interactions as they are deemed appropriate. But we're going to proceed with caution. We're going to do our part in being individually responsible. And so, as my concluding thought, I would once again re-emphasize Thomas Jefferson's reminder that it's foolish to look to the government to provide our safety. It's inherent upon us to act responsibly as individuals to provide that safety and protection. And when we do that, we all will live in a society and a community that thrives and, most importantly, is safe, because we're each doing our part to move forward in these unprecedented times. Thank you so much to the citizens of this county and the state of Utah who have taken this threat seriously and responded appropriately and fulfilled their commitment to society by being a responsible member of it. Thank you so much. I'll now turn the time to our Utah County Health Director, Ralph Clegg, who has some updates and additional information for us.
Thank you, Mayor Kaufusi and Commissioner Ivey. I appreciate the leadership they render to Provo City and as well as to Utah County as we move forward and proceed from a red condition to orange condition, as has been outlined. I like the focus of the Provo's recovery plan on proceeding with caution, because that's what's going to be very essential as we proceed through this, continue to move through this pandemic that we're experiencing. As the others have noted, we encourage all citizens and businesses and governmental agencies to follow the Utah Leads Together 2.0 plan. The phased guidance that is in version 4.0 is what we're under now, and that's in accordance with the governor's executive order. So we strongly encourage individuals to protect themselves, their neighbors, their coworkers, and most particularly the vulnerable in our communities by following the guidance given by the Centers for Disease Control and the health departments, which include the following. It's important to stay at home if you're sick or have COVID-19 symptoms. Get tested if you have the symptoms. Follow all health department self-isolation and self-quarantine directions. And working from home wherever possible is important. Staying at home as much as possible, avoiding non-essential travel. These conditions and these social distancing procedures are still very, very important. Keep non-familiar groups or gatherings to the numbers specified in the governor's executive order, which the mayor mentioned is at 20 right now. Avoid visiting long-term care facilities or other facilities with vulnerable populations unless it's absolutely necessary. Again, follow the good social distancing practices which have been discussed. Wearing a cloth or similar face mask in public settings is particularly important where social distancing can be a challenge. Follow strict hygiene standards. Wash your hands frequently, and I like the graphics that the cities come up with to help with some of those things. Using soap and water, use hand sanitizer. Cough and sneeze into disposable tissues or elbows or sleeves, but not into your hands. Avoid touching your mouth, nose, or eyes as possible, and regularly clean high-touch surfaces. For businesses, it's really, really essential that they screen their employees for COVID-19 symptoms and send them home if they have any of those symptoms this time. It's important for businesses to support their employees who are in self-isolation or self-quarantine by the health department. We have so many examples of so many businesses that are doing so well in social distancing. We encourage them to continue that. Our individuals and our citizens do so well in so many ways. Unfortunately, we've had a few examples where it's not been so good, where there's been some outbreaks because businesses have required sick employees to come to work, and even the contacts of those sick employees to come to work as well when they should have been self-isolated or self-quarantined. But if we all follow the guidelines and practice good social distancing, we'll get through this pandemic together. We want to move to a new normal, that green condition, and don't want to revert to more stringent conditions such as the red condition. And so we congratulate all our citizens who do so well, but we call upon each individual, family and business to take an active role in helping Utah County reduce its COVID-19 cases by following those social distancing practices outlined in the governor's order, as well as from the Centers for Disease Control and state and local health departments. Thank you, Mayor.
And thanks to my PIO, Nicole Martin. She probably never in a million years thought her job description would shift to sanitizing microphones and speaking dioceses, but that's okay. We do what we have to do, right? We're all adjusting. I just want to conclude and thank everybody for coming out and showing support for Provo's plan moving forward. And the best part of it is it's a positive plan. Even though it's proceed with caution, there's no way I was going to push something out of my office with my stamp on it that doesn't come across as being a think positive, look for the bright future, we're moving in the right direction, because that's the kind of person I am, and that's what the city expects out of their mayor. In conclusion, I want to remind you that our Proceed with Caution plan is available at our covid19.provo.org. Please check the website regularly and follow us on social media for the latest updates. We are posting, it's exhausting when I look at everything we're posting every day, because we're trying so hard to keep the citizens and the community informed. But with that said, it's current. As soon as we get news, we post. As soon as we get word, we post. So that seems to be the best way to get the communication into the community. I love my job as the mayor. Never again when I became mayor did I think I would be dealing with a pandemic. But of course it is, because I'm that lucky gal that gets all the funny things thrown at them their whole life. So I have wonderful people around me, great first responders, my chiefs, my EOC team. All of them give me great advice. I don't make a decision on my own. I want you to know that. We study the facts, we study the data, we take what the county sends us, we take what the state sends us. I get with my people, and then we make our decision. That's good leadership, and I believe we're doing it the right way. So again, thank you for joining us. Provo City is going to do well. We're going to thrive. We're going to get through this. And I'll turn the time over to my PIO if she wants to talk about questions or whatnot.